Japan Station is made possible in part by amazing people like you. If you'd like to make sure that I can keep bringing you more content about Japan, the Japanese culture, and the Japanese language, then consider joining the Patreon over at japankyo.com/Patreon. You can join for as little as $1 a month, and that will get you early access to episodes, plus ad-free versions. I also take one-time donations over on Ko-fi, Venmo, and PayPal. Links are down below.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Japan Station.
Welcome to Japan Station, a production of japankyo.com. This is the podcast where we teach you everything you should know about Japan, plus a few other things. I'm your host, content creator, founder of japankyo.com, and the anime linguist on YouTube, Tony R. Vega. Today I've got another episode of Ichimon Japan for you. So this is a rebroadcast of an episode that came out back in 2023. Specifically, this episode is about 10 reasons to hate living in Japan. It's not particularly negative. It's a pretty fun episode like usually Ichimon Japan episodes are. I do want to mention one specific thing though. During the conversation, the topic of Japan's lack of trash cans in public places comes up, and I mentioned something about how this is related to the famous Tokyo subway sarin gas attacks that happened in the 90s. Well, as I covered in a somewhat recent episode of Japan Station, that's kind of not true. So you can learn more about that topic in episode 163 of Japan Station. I'll include a link in the show notes in case you missed that one. It's a very enlightening episode. You should absolutely listen to that if you think that the trash can thing is related to the sarin gas attacks, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you just want to know why there are not that many trash cans in public places in Japan. It's a very interesting topic. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, like, and if you're watching on YouTube, hey, leave a comment. Why don't you? Always appreciate all that support. And of course, if you want to help out financially, Patreon, all that stuff, links are down below. All right, let's get to the episode.
And they always ask, like, teacher, which do you like, rice versus bread? I like rice because blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, yeah, because your bread sucks.
Welcome to Ichimon Japan. I'm Tony.
And I'm Ryan.
And, well, I guess I should just throw in right here at the beginning. This episode will come out on September 21st, and that's the day that I will be in Kyoto, leaving to try to walk to Tokyo within like 30 days. So I will have to set this up automatically so it just releases on its own. So if you're listening to this on the day of, I am somewhere in Kyoto trying to make my way to Tokyo. So
I am somewhere in Kyoto now.
Yeah, you are somewhere in Kyoto as well. So I don't know. We'll have to see if we can find somewhere to meet at some point. But yeah, we'll talk about that later off air. So, all right. So that's if you want to find out more about that, check out the one of the most recent episodes of Japan Station. I did a whole episode about that. So it's called the Tokaido Challenge. I'm walking from Kyoto to Tokyo, trying to do it in 30 days. So go check that out. All right. So Ichimon means one question in every episode. We ask a question about Japan. Today's question is 10 reasons you'll hate living in Japan. Really? So that was 10 reasons you'll hate living in Japan, period. Really? Question mark. So that's the question. It's the really. So I had to find a way to make this into a question.
That sounds like it counts, right?
Yeah. That's, we've been doing this over 70 episodes. I don't even remember how many, but I could do this. I will allow myself that leeway.
It's really just talk about whatever Tony feels like talking about.
It kind of is, yeah. Well, it is. So basically, I just found a couple of articles that said some stuff about this, and I took just some entries from those couple articles. Plus, I threw in a couple from my own, I don't know, that I thought would be worthy of discussing, and we'll talk about them. Will you really hate Japan for these reasons? That's completely up to you. It's I think it's a subjective thing, but they are things that maybe some people may not enjoy or may find annoying, and we'll dig into each one a little bit more deeply as we go along. But
and then
Ryan,
at the end, Tony will have the 10 true reasons to hate Japan.
Oh yeah. That's, you got to stay till the very end, and I'll give you the dish, the dirt. Yeah. So you got to stick around. All right. So what's the first one, Ryan?
The first one says no trash cans.
Okay, so this one is something that often comes up. Anybody that travels or lives there in Japan will bring this up. It's always quite hard to find a trash can, and it's I think most people are aware of this. And it's not necessarily a Tokyo thing. It's an Osaka thing. It's pretty much anywhere you go. I think it's not that they don't exist. It's just that they are very scarce. So perhaps that might annoy you, but I don't think it's something to hate Japan about.
I hate this country for its lack of trash cans.
Yeah. But this was on one list that said 10 reasons to hate Japan. So, I mean, this I don't want to go too deep into this or spend too much time on it, because I think a lot of people are aware of this. But what I've heard and the general understanding is that this dates back to the mid early-ish 90s, when there was the sarin gas attack by the Om Shinrikyo cult religious group, fringe religion, whatever you want to call it. In Tokyo is a subway, terrorist attack. And so after that, they reduced the amount of trash cans, all over the place. And so now the main places that I tend to come across trash cans are in front of convenience stores, and sometimes in a mall or some kind of, little corner in a mall maybe, but generally convenience stores is the most reliable place.
I think they've been moved inside of convenience stores recently instead of in front.
So that people like me don't just stop by and
I think you're still allowed to do that, but yeah. I've noticed there used to be a set of them out front that you could always just walk up and dump them off. Now they tend to be inside, kind of near where the little coffee machines are at. I think they just want you to come inside, so you might buy something.
Yeah. That, I think it's a double, two birds, one stone kind of thing. So it deters the people that just want to quickly get rid of something and they feel too ashamed to go into the store and not buy something and throw something away. Plus it may encourage you to go into the store, buy something, and then throw the other thing away.
And weirdly enough, at least in Kansai, the other place you usually see them is in train stations.
Oh, okay. So, they're around, but yes, they tend to be much rarer than in many other cities around the world. And you do end up, carrying some trash around in your bag or in your pocket. So, often, go ahead.
I've gotten used to it, so kind of don't even think about it. But I had a friend visit for the first time recently, and repeatedly he would walk away from stores with some kind of food item or bottle, and then realize he has to carry it now the rest of the day.
Yep, exactly. So, when possible, if it's a drink or something that I can drink fairly quickly, sometimes I'll just drink it right there and, get rid of the bottle. So I don't have to carry it around. I do want to point out, because I've seen lots of people make these videos about differences in Japan. They always say it's rude to walk with food. I don't think that has anything to do with rudeness. I think it's the lack of trash cans. No one walks away with food, because if you do, you're carrying that bottle or wrapper or whatever until you get home. I honestly think that's why. Yeah, I hear that too. And there's that term, rappanomi, I think, which is when you walk with as you're drinking from a bottle and you're walking around. I mean, I guess it's seen as rude, but I can't say that I haven't done it. So I generally think try not to do it on the train. Definitely that is a little more, frowned upon, but I don't think it's such a big deal, generally speaking. Although I'll put it, okay, here's a good example. So this past time I was in Japan this past summer, I was, so there quite a bit of the time we were traveling with an older woman. So the mother of my partner, and she's in her 60s, maybe approaching 70, and so she. This gets complicated, but okay. So anyway, there was a point where somebody we were with was traveling with, was an American that we were with, had a drink in their hand, and then the grandma was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be carrying around that in the store," and like. I think many people, the younger people these days, will be like, it's not such a big deal. But the older generation may still be kind of like, oh, no, very, proper, and you have to do things a certain way. So there may be that age difference in the generation and how they perceive, what may be super rude and what may be more normal these days.
I guess I never really thought about being inside of a store. I just meant like walking around on the city, especially because it's like really, really hot this last year.
Oh, yeah. Especially in the summer, yeah.
Yeah, there's been lots of like drink more water kind of things going around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, there are certainly less trash cans, but maybe, you might want to be a little more strategic and if you're going to just have a quick snack, maybe just have it before you leave the convenience store, put it there. And I think it's certainly something you can deal with. Otherwise, have a little trash bag in your backpack or something if you're moving around, because it's just
trash cans on them too.
What?
Some of the fancy trains, generally, if you have to pay for a special ticket, there will still be a trash can in the train.
I've seen that too. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think you're going to hate Japan over this.
Won't pay for the extra fare to get in the fancy train.
Yeah.
They're very stingy.
Yes. So again, I don't think you're going to hate Japan over this, but this was in a one list that I came across. So, what's number 2 then?
Number 2 says no soap or towels in bathrooms.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, someone who has lived here throughout Corona, this is just not true anymore.
Yeah.
I think there was a time where certain public restrooms didn't have this, but since Corona, I think literally everywhere I've gone has had soap. Sometimes towels, sometimes the air dryers. During Corona, the air dryers were all like turned off because they thought that spread the virus more. Mm-hmm. But since it's now like kind of ended, they're back on.
Yeah, and it's just spreading poop particles.
Yeah. But like, I used to think pretty consistently in like kind of rural areas like parks or something you would not find soap, but recently even there I see it. It's usually not like the liquid soap, but like the bar soap that's in like a little net bag, kind of like hanging in the corner.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I think at least in the last couple of years, everywhere I've gone has had soap.
Yeah. So I this probably one of the articles that I came across was a bit older. So, but I do remember when I was living there, and this was, early 2010s, and, maybe even the times that I visited afterwards, there were certainly like train stations and places that I would come across, like public restrooms that didn't have soap. Not 100%, but like if you go to a mall, like I remember those would generally have soap. Paper towels were always less common. And I think they are still not as common as maybe some places in the US, but I think Corona probably changed some of that, and you probably see a whole lot more soap than you used to. So that's just
I agree with that. Like 15 years ago when I was new here, I remember train ones frequently not having soap, but I think that's not really the case anymore.
Yeah. Again, so paper towels, maybe, I guess, but maybe some slight annoyance there, but I don't think this is going to be a hate Japan reason, unless, I don't know, you love paper towels.
Considering like 60 or 70% of men don't even wash their hands, it seems like a weird reason.
I think that may be the bigger reason to hate Japan.
And in case you're curious, I believe that statistic holds up in Japan too, because I have seen people just walk on out so often.
Yeah,
sometimes like from doing number 2, just walking on out. Yeah.
Well, they've perfected the no touch method. One thing I will add before we move on to number 3 is many people in Japan carry like hand towels. So I think that's something you may want to consider if you often carry a bag with you. You may want to just put in one of those small hand towels, and that is something you can, have with you to dry your hands when you do use a public restroom. All right. So number 3.
Before we move on, I actually, in my old job, I would try to keep track of which teachers didn't wash their hands and try to avoid them.
Yeah,
some of the teachers also didn't. I think the teachers had a much higher rate of washing hands.
Yeah, I've
It
seen
was
some
still
teachers
sadly
do it
not
too.
100%.
Yes, I've seen it happen too. Yes. All right. So number 3.
Oh yeah, I'm reading. Number 3, everything is individually wrapped.
Okay, I've heard this, and I think like there's both like the good and bad about this. I'll start with the good thing.
Dude,
where
plastic waste matters. It is only bad.
Well, so yes, so okay, fine. We'll get to the bad one first. Yes, so extra waste. A lot of it is plastic. Some of it is paper, but a lot of it is plastic, and so that's not good for the environment. Sometimes it's ridiculously overwrapped and just totally needless. I agree.
Should maybe explain if people haven't experienced it. Like if you buy like a bag of chocolates or something, the bag itself will be a plastic bag, and then you open it, and every single thing inside of it will be also wrapped up.
Yes.
And you might think like, oh, that happens in the West too, but it's like way more frequent in Japan.
Yes. Yeah. It's very common. Now here's the kind of convenient thing about it. Especially when it comes to like souvenir type things, like
that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, and that may have been exactly where it came from. It can be so annoying sometimes when you want to give something to everybody at the workplace, but you only have like a potato chip bag style thing where everything is loose. Like in the US, that I think that's more common. But in Japan, because you go somewhere and things tend to be individually wrapped, you can just buy a pack of something, and then now you have something to give to everybody, and that's so convenient, so good. The other, this is
sometimes it's like clearly individual sized packaging, and they're still all wrapped up. Like you buy a little bag of mints, and then you open it, and all the mints are wrapped. Yeah.
Yes. Again, there certainly is an aspect of this that is like, really, did you have to go that far? And then like the other thing is, now this is like a debatable thing, but because they are individually wrapped, I think there is also like you're less likely to eat everything. Right? Whereas like I guess, you buy like a pack of Oreos in the US, it's like you gotta, like, it's open. I guess there's a little bit of that, but I don't know, like I think that's maybe a slightly different issue.
I will say, related to plastic waste, I have noticed specifically, I think 7-Eleven stopped putting in that stupid little plastic green leaf into bento, which always annoyed me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's apparently a decorative.
Your bento isn't a true bento unless you have a little piece of green leaf in there, but they don't want to put a real one in, so they just put literally a plastic leaf that did nothing except create waste.
Yes,
for
exactly.
decades.
Yep. It's like if you're not paying attention, it's going to end up, in your mouth, and then you go, or you just, the first thing you do is you take it off and you put it like on the cover so that you don't eat it, and there was no point.
Yep, does absolutely nothing. Just creates more plastic waste.
Yeah,
they still put plastic tape on anything you buy without a bag, which annoys me, despite them also giving you a receipt.
That's true. Yeah. They shut the plastic bag, with the tape.
They don't even shut it, like, because now you have to bring your own bag, right? So they don't give you bags. So if you buy something small, they just take a little piece of tape that's like usually purple or red and just like stick it on there.
Yeah.
It's supposed to indicate that you have bought that, and I've pointed out, like, but they give you a receipt that also indicates I've bought this.
Yep.
And then they're just like, oh yeah, and then they don't have an answer.
That's how we do it. Yeah. And by the way, I believe the little plastic, the fake leaf that is in bentos is called a baran. And I think we may have even talked about that at some point in this show.
It has a name.
Yeah, it has a name. Everything has a name.
The evolution of it's kind of funny too, because it was like actually a leaf, and then it became just like a green strip that it kind of looked like grass more than a leaf.
Yeah, exactly. And supposedly the leaf did have like preservative properties. Like in a bento, you may not eat it for several hours, so you may like have that leaf like on it or wrapped around something to help it last, whatever the food is, last longer. But then it became plastic, and it just became purely decorative and more annoying than anything.
A plastic leaf, and then it became just green
Garbage.
plastic that wasn't designing anything.
Yeah.
And now it's finally
exactly.
gone. Hooray.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the larger point here? Oh, individually wrapped. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I guess this could really annoy some people. I could see that. I could see that. So maybe does it go to the point of hate? I don't know, but that's up to each
I'm
person.
not moving to this country because they've wrapped my mints up.
Yeah. But it can be quite wasteful at times. So absolutely. All right. So what's the next one?
Number 4, no tattoos allowed.
Okay, so I think this can really be a deal breaker for some people, and I think some people could certainly go to the point of hate. But again, this is quite well known. But tattoos are not, to put it quite bluntly, not accepted in larger Japanese society, and it can be extremely inconvenient to have tattoos, especially if they're in visible areas of your body. Like you can't. The most common example is you can't go to most what are they called, onsen, like hot springs, or sento, public baths. They're not, or even like the pool at a gym. I had a roommate in university when we were in Osaka, and he had a tattoo on his like the classic like shoulder bicep area, like that area tattoo, and he had to wear like sleeves around his, like just arm sleeves, like an armband sleeve, like whenever he would use the pool, like he had to cover it. So if you have a more expansive tattoo, then I don't know, you in a situation like that, I guess you'd have to wear like a wetsuit or something, because you do have to keep it covered. And generally speaking, it's just because you're not Japanese. My understanding is that a lot of places won't, give you a free pass. Now I have heard that there are more places, that are more accepting, and, hot springs that are letting more people, especially tourists, blah, 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 like use the onsen despite the tattoos. I don't know how much this has advanced in the past 5 years or so. I would say in the past 20 years, there's certainly more acceptance. It's certainly less restrictive, but within the past 5 years, I really don't know how much it's progressed.
I don't have a tattoo, and I also don't really go to Onsen Sento that often, so this is one I'm not that familiar with how it's actually changed.
This is
fully speculation on my part, but okay, so the reason people give for this is supposed to be they didn't want to let Yakuza people into certain places, and Yakuza were associated with having lots of tattoos. But the vibe I get now is that people are well aware that especially, at least foreigners, have no association with Yakuza, and they kind of don't care, but like the rule already exists, so they just enforce it simply because it's been there for years.
Yes.
Because I feel like no one actually is upset if they see your tattoo. It's just like, that rule exists, therefore we must discriminate against you, even though it's nothing personal.
Yeah. And there's two things that I can say about this. So number one, generally speaking, most non-Japanese people are not going to have the classic Irezumi style, Yakuza style tattoos with like the gods and the sakura and like all these classic motifs that, spread across the back and this kind of thing. Generally speaking, so there are exceptions. I know there are people that really love that, but generally speaking, that's not the kind of tattoos that you see most tourists or non-Japanese people have in Japan. So
usually it's Japanese with spelling mistakes.
There is certainly plenty of that. Yes. So like, I think the average Japanese person will see that and go like, oh yeah, this person's not, because they just have a tattoo, and they're not going to be like scared or something. The other thing is, we all know, and we've discussed it like in the school rules episode, the general thing is like, they like, this is a generalization, I know, but like we saw it in the school rules thing where like, we're going to make a rule and everybody just got to be the same, like we're not going to make exceptions, everybody's got to have black hair. Right. So like, we're not going to make exceptions for the foreigners and the non-foreigners, because then it gets we have to actually think for a second. And unfortunately that's, that certainly is probably a factor, in this.
Yeah, especially the places that have this rule tend to be like old-fashioned places like onsen and ryokan.
Yeah.
So I really think on a personal level, even the management doesn't care. It's just that rule has been there for decades, and therefore we must obey it forever.
Yes, yes. And then like
Which refusal to update to fit circumstances could be a reason to hate Japan, but
yeah. I would say certainly, yeah, that certainly annoys me far more than no paper towels.
yeah.
So yeah, and then here's the extra layer to that, where you have, let's just say, this old established onsen ryokan, and let's just say the owner is like a relatively young, like maybe like the fifth generation. The son took over. He's like in his 40s, and he's kind of like a cool guy. He understands, tattoos are not such a big deal, but the clientele may still be like in their 60s or 70s. And so he has to cater to them. So even though he may not have the same opinions as his regular customers, he has to, do things a certain way so that he can keep those people happy.
I need to point out the way this works is probably the clientele also doesn't care, but they might care, he thinks. Therefore, they do this.
Exactly. Yes. That's the thing. They might think this, therefore, and I get it. I totally get it. And,
there's a lot of no one is actually upset, but potentially someone could be, so we have to do this.
Yeah. And again, that kind of thing can often be way more annoying than no paper towels. By the way, like, I know there is a website that has like tattoo friendly, like onsen, like I've seen that. I think I even covered it on japankyo.com like years ago. So, you can, still enjoy an onsen, a sento if you have a tattoo. It's just, you got to do a little bit of research beforehand, and know where it's okay to go. And then, in certain situations, you may have to like wear long sleeves or whatever, like it, sadly, for like a job interview or whatever, even if it has nothing to do with tattoos or whatever, anything like that, like some people may have that concern, like we just talked about, for whatever reason. So, you do have to be aware of that. So I can totally understand how this would be horribly annoying for somebody that just, had a tattoo that is somehow significant to you. It has nothing to do with, Japanese mafia or whatever. And you did this before you even got interested in Japan. And now it's like a total annoyance for, quite frankly, largely a rather stupid reason in most cases. So, okay. So tattoos. All right. So what's the next one?
Next one is working conditions.
All right. So this one, I think, certainly there's certainly some reason to discuss this and reason to perhaps hate Japan for this in some situations. But, Japan is quite well known for not having the best kind of work culture, free overtime, and this kind of like social pressure kind of way where it's like nobody tells you have to stay, but because your boss hasn't left yet, I guess you have to stay too. And this is quite prevalent in the Japanese society side of things. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes the non-Japanese people can kind of skirt around this in various ways, especially if you're, a jet, ALT, like for me in that situation, I was like, 4:15. All right. Sorry guys. Got to go by, like I get to go home. Sometimes I even got to go home early because I wasn't in that, like I wasn't the full-time, like regular employee. So I got to skirt that. But once you enter that system, then there may be situations where you have to kind of deal with that. And sometimes it is incredibly stupid where like there's no reason for you to be there. And yet, the kind of the unspoken rule is that you can't leave yet, and different kind of pressure and stress that happens from that.
Yes, I think this one has a wide variance, though, especially since most of our listeners are probably not Japanese.
Yes,
the type of things you'll actually find as a foreigner. Because my job now is actually like extremely nice. Yeah.
I've heard university jobs tend to be more flexible, so that certainly is a factor. But
I've never had the traditional like office job here.
Exactly.
Though I mean, worldwide the conditions are supposedly very, very bad. However, I will point out statistically, Japan is ranked better than America.
I didn't know that.
Oh, consistently, always. I looked it up right now just to make sure, like a world report, and Japan beats America for working conditions. This is everything. This is not just like leaving when your boss leaves, but it's like, unionization and like payment and like access to different types of leave and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think people have a tendency to complain about Japan about this, even though America is typically worse.
So that's a very good point.
Things that are bad, I'll say, but overall, I think it's still kind of better.
Yeah. So overall, like I often bring this up in the show, and just because we may say like a negative thing or even a positive thing about Japan, that doesn't necessarily mean anything about any other country. So the U.S. has plenty of problems, and there's got tons of labor problems, and there's a very wide range of jobs. We go from physical labor all the way up to the classic the clerical, like office job, teaching, whatever. There's all kinds of jobs. So it's impossible to say it's like this for every single person. But there is certainly like that kind of like unspoken atmosphere that can be very stressful. And I've seen, Japanese friends of mine have to deal with this. And I think it can be especially tricky for women too, because there's that extra, layer with women. So, I've spoken to many female Japanese friends, and they often like, they can really dislike like often the work environment, and some of them end up leaving Japan. So it's a complicated issue. Now the point here is though, like I think Japan certainly has its own problems with working conditions, and you just have to be aware of that. Now if you're not Japanese, you may be able to kind of make things work for you in your own way, especially like the ideal situation right now in Japan. And this is going to connect to the next issue. If you can earn money like in dollars and live in Japan, oh man. Right. So what's the next issue? What's the next issue here?
Before we go on, I'll just mention this because I looked it up while you were talking, and at least very, very quick Google searches of like longest hours by country. The US is higher than Japan.
Wow. See, okay. No, I like to
even
hear
Japanese
that.
people are surprised to hear this because they think they work more, but yeah. Japan has terrible working conditions, but they're better than America.
See, no, that's really important to keep that context. Like, yes, how do you measure blah blah? Okay, fine, yes, but you often like will say
from
like
a non-America English-speaking country, then yes, Japan will be much, much, much worse than what you're used to. If you're from America, it'll be slightly nicer. Yeah,
exactly. So, and again, every situation is different, blah, blah. Like you may have come from a horrible job in the US and now in Japan, it's wonderful, vice versa. It totally happens. But, again, just because Japan is this way, it doesn't necessarily mean that the US is this or that, or whatever other country is this or that.
I will point out, I guess, that although many people feel they have to follow those rules and stay late, I have met Japanese people who don't and don't face any repercussions at all.
Yeah. Yes, that certainly happens too. And then at the same time, sometimes the ones that don't follow the rules, they may get passed up for promotions and they get kind of ostracized. That happens too.
But I don't think that really happens often.
I have no way to say, how often it happens, but I have heard stories. And so, does it happen as often as the media may portray? I don't know. I have no clue.
I agree that is a strong belief that controls how many people act.
Yeah.
From my own anecdotal experience, managers usually want you to go home early than stay late. Like I've seen them unhappy with people following the old-fashioned tradition of stay there all day, and they'll actually come up to your desk and be like, "Go home."
I've heard stories like that as well. I have from Japanese friends as well. So
yeah,
they're just. But again, like it goes back to the thing you said, like, or the thing that we said about the ryokan, where sometimes it's not like what anybody wants, but it's what like somebody thinks the other person thinks that the other person thinks they want, and so then that ends up causing nobody to go home.
Anyway, we can move on to our next.
Yes. So next one.
Next one just says salary.
Yeah, salary. So now, to somebody coming from the US or maybe some other countries, you move to Japan these days, you're not going to be earning as much in many situations, and that goes in part due to two reasons. One, the yen exchange rate has just it's just horrible. It's just horrible right now.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's wonderful for me when I went and I had dollars, but the other way around, it's really bad. And two, wages in Japan, my general impression is they've just stayed the same. Like
they've gone down.
Oh, there you go. See? Yeah. Like
there was a big report
bad.
like a year ago about the quote success of Abenomics and how wages actually decreased slightly over the last like 9 years or something.
There you go. Yeah. So it certainly would be a reason to hate in the sense of like, I could be making so much more money somewhere else. Yeah, I could see that. And it's just the
majorist one. That's a good word.
Yeah, that's exactly. So like, I think whether you're planning to live there for a year or two or indefinitely, this is certainly a factor that you have to keep in mind. I do like Japan. I do enjoy Japan, but at this point in time, it certainly would be tough to, unless you're earning quite a bit. Or again, here's the ideal situation where you're working remotely. Maybe you have a job in the US where you can work anywhere and you're earning dollars and you're living in Japan. That would be just wonderful because you'd be making
that would be
so much
amazing.
Money. Yeah. Like those YouTubers, whatever, like Chris Broad, whatever, he's probably like banking in the cash right now. So yeah, like that would be a wonderful.
If you become a YouTuber in Japan, make sure you register in America.
Yeah, exactly. You get your AdSense. Well, if you're producing English content, you're getting AdSense revenue in the dollar, like in that market, right? So you're making more money than a Japanese YouTuber doing in Japanese. So yeah,
two mini stories about this. When I first got my first job here after college, many years ago, I'll leave ambiguous. I remember being happy thinking like the job I got paid slightly above average for like immediately after graduating positions.
Yeah.
But because of the things you've mentioned, now it's so bad. My friends are like, wow, why would you ever live in Japan?
Yeah.
Like it's way worse than what you would normally find for like a postgraduate job in America.
Absolutely.
And a more fun story, before and after Corona, because Corona coincides with the gigantic collapse of the yen. And I do have like remaining school loans that I have to like report my income and stuff to them. And in yen, my income has actually increased substantially since finding my new job at the university I'm at. However, my dollars income has actually lowered.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really just like it used to be.
I got like a 30% raise and I'm making less now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it used to be more or less even, right? 100 yen to a dollar, but these days it's dropped down to like 30 to 40% sometimes. So yeah, it's bad. But like what I will say though, like the cost of living in Japan is generally lower than many big cities. My point of comparison is Honolulu. So and that is certainly
rent is so low.
Yeah, rent is low. No tips for you US people. That certainly is a factor when you go eat out. Meals tend to be generally cheaper. For example, in Honolulu, like it was almost like half price sometimes.
The literal most expensive place in America.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm biased in my point of reference, but yeah, generally cost of living, yes, it has gone up too, but it is more reasonable than some of the big cities that you see in other places in the world.
I will also point out something people often don't realize. If you're in Japan being paid in yen and spending yen, then the crash of the yen, it doesn't have no effect, but the effect is a lot smaller than most people might expect. It's not like one day going to McDonald's tripled in price or anything. The prices kind of stayed the same. It does have a slow impact because they do import things that get used for other things. So there has been a very, very small increase in prices over the last years, but not nearly as much as the yen has devalued. So even though I make like terrible, terrible money by US standards in dollars, in Japan, we live kind of comfortably middle class. Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind before, if you're thinking about moving to Japan. So
yeah, it definitely has to be because you want to live in Japan and not because you're trying to make money.
Yeah, unless you do happen to land some amazing job, then I guess go for it.
Yeah, there still are rich people here.
Yeah,
hey, we got insurance.
Yeah.
And good insurance.
That's so true. Yeah. The U.S., you don't get anything. That is certainly a bonus right there. All right. So what's
Women
next?
And men can both take up to a full year of child leave.
Yeah. That's yeah. So yeah,
Though
exactly.
The men
There are
rarely
other
take it.
Yeah. Then that's the thing exactly. But anyway, that's the whole other thing. But
But
there are
you
other
still can.
perks. You can. Yes. All right. So what's the next one?
Bread makes no sense.
Okay, so I got this one off a list. I thought it was funny because I kind of go like, yeah, it's kind of funny coming from an American perspective, but it's like, so we're talking about shokupan. So shokupan is kind of the bread that's like the typical loaf of bread that you would use to like make a sandwich. And in Japan, generally speaking, like you go to the supermarket, like the loaves of bread are the same. What changes is like the way they're sliced, so how thick the slices are. So if you get like 6, it's a little thicker. You get like 8, it's a little thinner. And but
Six is the thin one, man. Like
I don't remember. I don't remember how many it is. 4 is the thick one.
Yeah, 4 is the thick one. 6 is like almost hard to find because it's like the best one.
Okay.
For some reason, 5 is the standard, which is such an annoying number because if you want to use it for sandwiches, you just have one extra.
Yeah. It's so like funny to I guess to an American, maybe other places in the world, because you're used to getting I don't know, it's a reasonably sized loaf of bread that are with each slice.
But it's also like 1/4 the size of a normal loaf of bread.
Yeah, for the U.S. again, and in the U.S., they're cut to like sandwich size, so you can make a okay like thickness sandwich. But if you get like the 5 slice or the 4 slice and try to make a sandwich, that's a lot of bread. The thick crust
is so thick you can't even put it in a toaster. Yeah.
So I'm not sure where this came from. I really don't know.
Who's buying the 4? Like I hate the 4.
No,
I remember once I found like an 8 that was like once in my life, and I was like, holy. Okay, I also let me rewind. The 6, even though it is the most slices you'll find normally, again, same size bread, so they're just getting thinner slices. It's still thicker than Western bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, once in my life, I found an 8 that was like normal size. It was like, holy crap, this is awesome. I'm always buying this, and then I never found it ever again in like the 12 years I've been in Japan.
Like I'm not saying it like the bread tastes perfectly fine. I have no problem with the bread itself. It's just the sizing and it's just so funny.
So I'm going to point out here, just in case anyone is listening and getting angry from Japan, this is Tony's list of things you hate in Japan, not my list. I currently live in Japan and do not hate living in Japan, so all hate mail go to Tony. However, I'm going to complain about bread because this is the one that gets to me probably.
Okay.
The bread is terrible. It's only white bread. It's just flavorless, nothing fluff.
Okay, so if you're talking about the shokupan, which is again this kind of sandwich-ish bread, like yes, it's there. I've seen wheat and stuff. You can find it.
No.
But
it's white bread with pieces of wheat mixed in. If you actually read it.
Yes. I was just going to get into that.
Wheat bread.
Yes, it's not good.
It is not good at all. Like especially when I taught like in junior highs, a lot of kids, for whatever reason, Japanese people strongly believe in this like A versus B, where it's like rice versus bread, and they always ask like, teacher, which do you like, rice versus bread? I like rice because blah 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 blah. It's like, well, yeah, because your bread sucks.
It's too thick and it's got pieces of wheat.
It's too thick. Either it's white bread with no flavor whatsoever, or you just put like little tiny pieces of other breads in it. It's legitimately hard to find anything that's actually wheat. You have to go to like a fancy bakery. And then, even if you go to a fancy bakery, you can find wheat. You can, if you're extremely lucky, find rye, and that's it. There is nothing else.
Yeah. And the supermarket is where most people get their bread. This is exactly the supermarket. Yes, you can go to, nicer bakeries and you can find, more variety. But even then, it's generally not going to be the same as probably what you get in a decent supermarket in the US, or especially I would imagine in Europe, it would probably be even better.
12 years in Japan, including the fancy bakeries, I have never found sourdough. Yeah,
I don't remember ever even hearing sourdough while in Japan. Yeah, like I had rye bread in Finland, just wonderful, love it. Just so flavorful, just so good. But yeah, I never had that in Japan. Now that being said,
You can't get nuts. They do have the kurumi, I guess.
Yes, and that's good. But I was gonna get to that kind of thing where you do get good bread in Japan. Like there's good like pastries, there's good stuff. It maybe some of it is a little bit different from what you might get in your home country, but like you go to some bakeries and cafes and some all you can eat like cafe bakery bread places, like you can get good stuff. It's just that some of the varieties you just don't get, and that kind of sandwich bread also, like that's kind of that was the jumping off point of this point. But
yeah, this is specifically grocery store shokupan.
Yeah.
In English, I want to say loaf of bread, but I don't believe this bread was ever in a loaf because it's also like square. I don't know how they cook it. You don't get end pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get end pieces. Yeah. Like, what do they do with the end pieces?
I think they're making it some kind of factory where like it's either just one gigantic loaf or something.
It's true, yeah.
But like it's not loaf shaped at all. They're like uniform bread squares.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get good types of breads in Japan, but it's that sandwich bread, the sandwich bread. So
if you go to like I do think like what you said, the best from my experience isn't even like a bakery, but like a restaurant / bakery.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just have like their own special little rolls or bread things they'll give you. Yeah. Bread basket.
Oh, that's going to be so good. Or you go to like a nice like Italian or French place and sometimes they'll bring out just utterly just delicious bread. They do have some good bread at like the nicer restaurants. It's so good.
There's a place near me that's technically a steakhouse, but they have a salad bar, a soup bar, and a bread bar.
Yeah. And
I like just to get the bread bar and the soup bar and just like mix whatever various breads they have and like dip them in the soup. Those are good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you just gotta be aware of the sandwich. If you if you can't deal with that, you may hate Japan.
Luckily, I'm not much of a sandwich eater, so this barely affects me. But every once in a while, it's like I'll have toast. Oh, I can choose plain white or off-brand plain white.
Yeah, exactly. Or
4 slices that's too big to even fit in my toaster.
Yeah. Okay, so bread. All right, what's next?
The streets make no sense.
Okay, so this can certainly be annoying at sometimes. I think this is not as bad these days with like Google Maps and all that because you just put it in and you just follow what the thing says. But yeah, like navigating streets can be quite annoying in many, maybe even most cities in Japan.
So
most places around
navigation.
Japan.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would say that navigation, mail, like telling somebody where you are, it's so common to just show them a map because it's kind of the easiest way.
I have many things to say about this one too.
Yeah. So, but I will just add one thing that Sapporo was modeled after Western cities. So the streets are, very straight and just like grid. It's a grid.
Do they have names?
I think so. I believe they did.
Oh, okay. Because typically in Japan they do not.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, so it's like you got to go to the third one and this and that. So that's why there's like, look, just look at the map. Just like your business card may have a map on it. Like that's just the most common go-to thing.
So when I read your list of streets make no sense, I thought you actually meant like the streets are like strange in some way, which I have experienced.
Oh, okay. So what was your take on this?
My old town, I think this is very common, especially in like rural areas in Japan. You will have streets, entire streets that like, for example, on both sides, either there's buildings or there's like farmland, which in Japan always means a very steep drop off into like a rice paddy or something.
That's so true.
This is important because you can't just like drive on the side of the road. It's a freaking ledge.
Yeah.
And the road will be approximately 1.2 cars wide.
Yes, that's so true.
It's a both-way street.
Yeah, that's true.
So you might wonder, well, what happens if two cars are both going the opposite directions? They meet each other. Like, yeah, there's no actual rule. Someone's going to just have to reverse out of there and let the other person go.
Yeah. That is, I didn't even think about that aspect to this, but that's so true. There's the narrow streets and also like the drop offs, the gutters sometimes.
Oh yeah, the gigantic no safety 1 meter falls into pits everywhere.
Yeah. That's scary, but it happens. You got to be really careful with that. I mean, generally that's in rural areas only. but still, like, if you're not paying attention, like, you drive your car into that. Like, I remember hearing a story of somebody who she was not good at driving, and one day she was backing out of her place and she fell into the rice paddy. So so it happens, and they had to call like the tow truck and get the car out, and it was a whole thing. So some of those things don't quite make sense, and so in that way, the streets are weird, I guess you could say.
Going back to the like never questioning rules, this is another one that bothers me, because the idea people have is there's like, oh, the city's old, the road is old, it was like made before cars existed, that's why it's so singular, there's limited space, which if you're in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, that is true, and I understand. But I lived in the countryside where they were still developing and making roads, and it's just empty land. They were just choosing to make them small. It's like, why are you making it so small? There's just nothing around. You can make it bigger. But I guarantee somewhere there's some document saying like, oh, the proper size for a street is this many meters. Therefore, that's what we're going to do.
Very well could be, yeah. And interestingly, like the roads in Sapporo are like so wide, generally speaking. And yet, like, there's not that many people in Sapporo, and Hokkaido is not that popular. Sapporo is the biggest city, and even then, like, when I was walking around Sapporo, like it did not feel anything like Tokyo or Osaka, where like it's just packed with people. Like, it was like, even like main roads, there were not that many people. So like, there's, in a way, you could argue like Sapporo does not need like these huge roads, and yet Sapporo did it this way. I don't know, like, it's just funny. Like, again, some of these things may not make sense. It's just the way it is.
I do gotta say, I kind of like the way Kyoto's made. We don't have those weird both ways but only one car length roads that you have to negotiate with people roads here. Mm-hmm. And there is traffic, so that's not ideal, but I feel like my lane's always big enough, and we usually have 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Kyoto is like a major city and an ancient city, and yet they still somehow made the roads like properly sized and good.
Yeah, well, I guess
minus the traffic, though.
Well, yeah, the tourists and all that stuff. Yeah,
being from California, I kind of feel like Japan just does not have traffic. Like, what people say is a heavy traffic day here is like literally so light you wouldn't even notice it in California.
Right. Yeah. I get that. Miami's not particularly great for traffic either.
My normally 30-minute drive took me 33 minutes because of traffic. Like, dude.
Exactly.
Where I grew up, the 30-minute ride takes you 2 hours because of traffic.
Right. So yeah, this certainly can be annoying for various reasons. So it's worth mentioning. What do we got next?
I guess the one last thing I can throw out here is there's a lot of street signs that I had no idea what they meant.
No.
And like, I figured like, oh, I didn't grow up here. Though I do have a driver's license. I did like study for it. I took the test. I passed it, written and driving and all that. And just some of these signs were just never taught anywhere.
Right.
And I thought like, oh, it's probably just, I got like a like quicker version of that because I did technically the foreign license conversion instead of like the whole start from scratch thing. Mm-hmm. Until I got married and we were driving with my wife and I said like, oh, by the way, honey, what does that sign mean? She's like, I don't know. So, I think there's just weird, mysterious signs around sometimes.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I never. That's not. I don't drive, so that wasn't something I paid attention to.
I will say, in case anyone ever tries to rent a car here, be careful because the no parking sign looks a lot like the American like wrong way sign, but it doesn't actually mean wrong way.
Oh, okay. Okay, street signs. Yeah,
anyway,
that's yeah.
I don't want to be liable. Do your own research if you're going to drive here.
Exactly. All right. So, what do we have next?
You wrote. Finding food from your country may be difficult.
Yeah. So one of the lists mentioned how it can be hard to find cheese. And so I just kind of expanded this. And so I do think in many situations it can be hard to find quite a few varieties of cheeses. Like the supermarket has like what they call, I think they call it, what do they call it? Natural cheese? Is that what they call it? I think and that's basically like the American cheese, like the Kraft Singles kind of cheese, if I remember correctly. And there's a few other varieties sometimes.
Or mozzarella.
Well, yeah. So there's some varieties in your typical supermarket, but compared to many other countries, even the U.S., a lot of times there are less. It can be more expensive, and so cheese. And if you go to like a more rural place, sometimes there's like almost nothing or nothing, and that's just because there's less of a cheese eating culture, and that's just how it is. But yeah, like if you're looking for, I don't know, like Peruvian food or something like that, like in my case, not every place will have Peruvian food. If you're looking for other kind of specific, countries, like it's still easier to find Peruvian food than, for example, I would say like Colombian food, or I don't know, maybe many other countries, right? Because there are more Peruvians, or sourdough bread, exactly. So, and sometimes you go to a certain restaurant and you expect what you're used to, more something authentic, and you do not get that at all. That still happens.
I'm kind of surprised how they can just lie about what things are on menus.
Yeah.
That's not a Japan thing. I heard that's in America too, where like apparently 80% of sushi fish are mislabeled.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too. Or I've had bad Mexican food here in Hawaii that is like, this is not, it happens. It happens. It's not a Japan only thing, but yeah.
I have a Spanish friend who really likes Iberico jamón. Yeah. And recently you can find the word Iberico jamón in many places, but according to him, all of it is fake.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Well, if it's real, it costs you like 10,000 yen.
Okay. Well,
you can technically find it, but like, think even has Iberico ham sushi for like 100 yen, and I'm not gonna. I do not know. I don't want to get sued, so I do not know if that's the real thing or not the real thing. But it seems difficult to sell it at that price if it's real.
Yeah. Maybe they're taking a loss just for the status symbol.
I genuinely don't know. I'm suspicious.
Yeah. I'll say this. So, I went to a Spanish restaurant this past time that I was in Tokyo, and I love paella. The person I was with said, like, let's have some paella. And I told the person, look, I know I'm going to be disappointed, but I'll go with you.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And I went, and I won't say it was bad, but I've had way better paella in Miami. So I was like, it's okay. And apparently they won some special award in Spain or something for their paella. And I was like, really? I don't know about that. Like I had my doubts, but I don't know. So
if you want to be happier here, you have to just view everything as its own thing and not get upset about it being different. Because sometimes it is a completely different thing, but it doesn't mean it's bad.
Exactly.
Like I like to say, Japanese Chinese food, American Chinese food, and Chinese Chinese food are all completely different things, and all of them are good.
Yeah. So that's a very good point, and you just have to go in with that mentality. Now, the problem that you run into is that when you have a specific craving for something, from whatever country, and you can't find it, or you try to have it and you end up with something different, then that can be very annoying.
I will say nowadays with internet companies, this is not as difficult as it was in the past. When I first moved here, like mid-2000s, yes, there were certain things you just could not find. But now, online shops, you can usually get whatever you want, but they sometimes become expensive.
True. Yeah. Yes. It has become easier and ordering online, and there are import shops, and especially if you're in the cities, you can find a lot more variety these days. Tokyo, Osaka, you can find a lot of stuff that's pretty authentic. Like I went to pretty decent Greek restaurant in Kobe, like even back like 15 years ago or something. So like, if you're in the city, you can find more variety, but just be aware that sometimes you end up with something a little different from the what was it? What's that place? Dottor. The Cafe Dottor. They were selling like what was it? Like a calzone. Okay. And I bought that knowing that I was going to be like completely disappointed that this was not a calzone, and I was 100% right. And I was like, okay, but I was expecting this, so it's okay. So like I knew what I was gonna get, but I still had that like 1% of hope. It's like maybe this will be like kind of good, and like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I would consider a calzone, right? So just you get used to it.
The only one I can't get used to the hot dogs, where it's just like a bread roll cut in the wrong spot, and then just this weird little sausage thing stuck in there.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So do we have one more? I think we have one more. Or was that
Yes.
Okay.
Number 10, you will stand out if you're not Asian, and if you're Asian, you may not stand out, but you still may be annoyed.
I've seen this happen so many times. So, I've seen both sides complain, and for decent reason, right? Like if you don't look Japanese, especially if you're in more rural areas, people may look at you. People, blah blah blah. They may be like, "Oh, can I touch your hair and this and that?" Or "Can I touch your muscles?" Like I've seen it happen. I know it happens. And then for the let's say Asian Americans or Asian Australians or whatever, I've seen this happen too, where Japanese people assume that you are Japanese because you look Asian, and then they talk to you, and maybe you don't know Japanese or your Japanese is not that good, and then they get confused, like, wait, but you aren't you Japanese? And then that's a whole other thing that may be very frustrating for some people. So, you have to be aware of both sides. I'm sure I know kids stare at me and they look at me and my, it happens, but you know what? Like, I can't even see them. Because I'm legally blind, I can't even see them. So I was like, whatever, I don't care. So like either you develop a thick skin or sometimes you make a funny face back at them, and it is what it is. Like I don't let it bother me much or at all for the most part.
Staring is easy to ignore. I have seen more issues with this. Like, my issue is always when I use Japanese with someone and they insist on responding to me with broken English I can't understand.
Yes. I've had that happen many times. Yes.
I've literally had to, in Japanese, say please use Japanese. I don't understand your English.
Yes.
Or my new one, since I got married last year, is my wife and I interact with someone who 100% only talks to her, even though I'm also speaking to them. To the extent that once she was just standing next to me, not even paying attention, just on her phone or whatever. I'm buying whatever, paying the money, and he tries to give the change to her. They just don't see you as a person.
Yeah, it happens, and I don't think it. For the most part, of course, there's exceptions, but I don't think it comes from a racist kind of thing. It just comes from an utter cluelessness to just an utter unawareness that
racism.
Well, okay, yes, it's ignorance, okay, whatever. But I don't mean it's an active.
It's not hate based, is the way I like to say it.
Yeah, but it's this incorrect assumption that they're not going to
literally talk to them to their face and say I can speak Japanese, they still don't recognize you can speak Japanese.
Yeah. Do you hear what I'm telling you? That can be very annoying, and I've had that happen to me as well. Yes.
The most irritating thing is if you ever don't hear in any language when you're talking, sometimes you don't hear what they say, or sometimes you don't quite understand what they're trying to say, so you ask them to say it again, just I'm sorry, could you repeat that? 100% of the time they assume it's because you don't speak Japanese and they switch into bad English.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just in a noisy place and it's oh, can you repeat that? And they switch into a language that makes it harder to understand.
Yeah.
Or you did understand the words they said, but it's still you don't quite get what they're trying to explain to you. So again, they switch into English where they're not good at it, so it's harder to understand.
Yeah.
You can never just ask for something to be explained in Japanese and have them actually do it in Japanese.
Yeah. No, I've experienced all of this, and the way that I deal with it, it really depends on the situation. If it's a train employee, whatever, I'll go oh, you can just speak to me in Japanese, please. That'll be easier. Or and if it's somebody that I may see again, whatever, you go oh, hey, actually, I understood that, try to explain that a little bit more. And they go, oh my God, you speak Japanese. It's so funny. I was just talking to you for 5 minutes in Japanese. And then they have that reaction oh, wow, you speak Japanese. Yeah. I was just speaking to you. And then, we just kind of laugh about it. And that's happened too. So, I don't generally express anger at people because I think that's counterproductive. But, it certainly, I have felt those moments of annoyance where you're dude, I just said 3-4 sentences at you in Japanese, and my Japanese is pretty easy to understand, I think. So I don't get why you're just assuming, but it is what it is.
My friend told me a story that when he was teaching at a junior high or something, American friend, like at the end of the day, one of the students came over to him and asked him like, "Oh, can you please say something in Japanese?" So then in Japanese, he responded like, "Oh, what kind of thing do you want me to say?" And then the student's like, "I don't know. Like, how about something like this?" And like, apparently for several minutes, they talked back and forth trying to pick the right sentence for him to say in Japanese. And the entire thing was in Japanese, and the kid just did not realize.
Yeah, it's so weird sometimes. Yeah. Like, again, like I've interacted with people for really decent amounts of times, and they go like, "Oh, you can speak Japanese?" Like, yeah, we were speaking Japanese the whole time. Like, I don't get where that, like, but you just heard me. Like, we're having a conversation.
I don't know if this will like catch with anyone else like how it did with me, but recently when my friend was visiting, we went to a like touristy area in Kyoto, and there was I think it was like a mochi shop that actually had, like, one of the staff was, I think, British, but could speak Japanese like completely perfectly. And my friend asked, like, "Do you speak English eventually?" And she said, like, "Yes, I can, but if you speak to me in Japanese, I will always answer in Japanese."
Uh-huh.
And I just feel like, she understands what it's like to use Japanese and have no one ever respond to you in Japanese.
Right.
This is like a well-known thing. I think every foreigner who can speak Japanese feels here. Just like,
Yeah. It's funny, and I mean, you know, it is what it is. You deal with it. You get used to it.
What's funny, I think, is if their English is actually good, I think they will speak Japanese with you. It's like they understand like learning a language, and then they're cool with it. It's specifically the people who like are bad at English that want to switch to English.
Well, yeah, because they have no. Yeah, I guess they lack that global perspective where they can imagine that somebody who's not Japanese can actually speak Japanese at a good level. So, but the people that can speak English, they go like, "Oh, okay, you speak Japanese, cool, all right, go." You know, like, it's no big deal. So, yeah, and then of course, you know, neither of us are of Asian ancestry, but the flip side is, of course, there are many people who are of Asian ancestry but not Japanese, or not born and raised in Japan, not able to speak Japanese, and they go to Japan and they have to deal with like, just this other like assumptions, like, why don't you speak Japanese?
Yeah, I remember once my friend and I went to like a ramen shop or something. Mm-hmm. And there was a girl already there when we got there. It was like a really small place. So we ended up sitting like next to her. And she looked Japanese. And this chef was like saying stuff to us. And then I just remember she like kind of whispered to us like, "Do you know what he's saying? I'm not actually Japanese."
Yeah. It happens. So yeah, again, for some people, I think this is actually a deal breaker, and it may be, it leaves people with really negative feelings towards living in Japan. And I can understand why, I can totally understand why. So, like, this is something you do have to just be aware of.
I feel like the no trash cans and soap and towels is a minor thing, but you will probably never be treated like a normal person ever.
Yeah.
You can meet people who will treat you normal.
Yes.
But by and large, Japan as a society as a whole will not.
Yeah. And I mean, you can often spin that to your advantage, but
yes,
it can also
avoid a whole bunch of annoying things.
Yeah. And you can, sometimes, like, I don't know, like, maybe get a job out of it or something. Like you can, profit from that in some ways if you're inclined to. Not everybody wants to do that, and that can be very tiring. So it really depends on each person, and how you deal with that, can really depend. So, for me personally,
it is a different experience, and it's not necessarily bad. I've met Japanese people who openly told me they liked interacting with foreigners because there's certain like strictness with interactions that foreigners aren't expected to follow. So the Japanese people also felt like relaxed when they talked to foreigners because they could also drop it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, like, I'm pretty used to it. I don't live in Japan, but I still interact with Japanese people every single day. And I am going back fairly regularly. Corona, whatever. But nowadays,
come in years, man.
Well, I hadn't, and then I was back in June, and I will be back again in September. So like I deal with it in my own way, and for the most part, like I tend to crack jokes about it, and I tend to like, it's like, dude, I'm right here, like I speak Japanese, and they go, ha ha ha, like usually like I can kind of get a laugh out of people. Yeah, so then they laugh at me. Yeah, so no, but it is something you have to be aware of and learn to deal with, and sometimes you find, hopefully you find your group of people that are where this isn't an issue. But when let's say you go to, like, I don't know, buy a cell phone or something, you may have to deal with that, like the first 2-3 minutes of that interaction. You go like, no, it's okay, like, look, I understand what you're telling me, just explain to me what the contract is. And I think it's totally okay to just be blunt about it. It's like, look, I understand what you're telling me, just can you explain to me what this is? Like, oh, okay, yeah, then
you ask
bam, it's out of the way
about one thing and they think that means you don't understand anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, sometimes you do have to be a little blunt, and, it is what it is.
I just thought of this, since neither of us are of Asian ancestry and we couldn't really relate to the other part of this. Mm-hmm. I have met Japanese people who told me that when they travel to Hawaii or other places in America and they see a, quote, Japanese person and walk up and try to use Japanese and they just like look shocked and only answer in English, that they felt that was super strange.
It's super strange to expect that everybody speaks Japanese.
I don't think this is widespread, but some people have this idea that, like, if you have a Japanese face, then you are Japanese no matter where you're born and raised. Even though you might be American, Canadian, Australian, or whatever, and have like no idea how to speak Japanese.
Yeah, it's funny, and I guess that comes from a place of never, for the most part, never having to deal with people from, other, that speak other languages, right? Where in the US, like it's a totally normal thing. So I don't know, this kind of sense of isolation where you just may develop certain weird ideas, such as that your intestines are longer than Westerners.
We have the same length of intestines. Surely you understand me.
Yeah, surely, it's all in the intestines.
Okay, that kind of reminded me of one more little tiny story, just like assuming people who look like you speak the same language. Yeah. Once, my friend and I went to visit an aquarium in, I think it was Osaka, and we don't look Japanese, and there was a young child who also didn't look Japanese who was crying because he lost his mother, I think. But he was crying in French.
Oh.
And all of the Japanese people, including staff, kept like looking at us like, oh, will you come help us? And we're like, we have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, it's like they all understand each other.
Like, I know you might, he's not mine and he's speaking a language I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah, your efforts would probably be just as effective as mine. Yeah, that happens too. Okay. So yeah, that was, some of these were more annoying, on the more annoying spectrum. Some may be more on the, like, oh, this is a deal breaker, like I can't live in Japan. But, everybody's different, right? Like you can deal with different things and some people can't deal with different things. It is what it is. So you got to, make your decisions. But for the most part, like I totally enjoyed my time living in Japan. I continue to go back and I continue to intend to go back. So, like
Yet you don't live in Japan, which means you do hate something.
It was like the education thing, and then money and jobs and stuff like that led me here. But if
listeners, I live in Japan and therefore love it. Tony hates Japan.
Now, if I could make some big English language YouTube money, then maybe. But I'm not there yet.
Actually, that kind of brings me to a point. If like money and working was no issue, like just imagine you just win the lottery and can just retire wherever you want. Would you consider Japan, or do you like Hawaii now? Though having said that, it's hard to imagine you being like, yep, I want to leave Hawaii.
So I would like if no, like none of these job whatever issues or money or whatever, if nothing was an issue, I would certainly consider like maybe half of the year Japan, half of the year Hawaii. Like I would maybe not want to be in the winter in Japan, but yeah, like if I could have a place in Japan and just go and do stuff over there and just spend more time there, I'd be totally down for that. So, but yeah, not there yet. We'll see. All right. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Ryan, as always. And we'll be back next month. Yeah. See you next time.
See ya. Goodbye.